Hi class. So the other day we covered while loops in a video. So today I'm going to talk about what are called math shortcuts. So there's some operations that you do so often while programming that they've come up with shortcuts so you don't have to type as much. So and I've made a little table here in the comments and then I'll try to demonstrate some of them. So adding 1 to a number, there's 2 different ways to do it, and subtracting 1 from another number happens a lot. And the way we would do this when programming is simply, so x equals x plus 1 is the same as x plus plus. That's the shortcut. But there's another way to do this, and I'm going to demonstrate the difference with an example below. Another way to do this is plus plus x. Now, if you think about the logic of this, what would the logic be? Here the adding is afterwards and here it's before. So sometimes in a line, we may have something like, let's say, system.out.println, x equals x. And if I add 1 to x here and simply do plus plus, and then I output x again, what's going to happen is it's going to output the original value of x and then add 1 to it. So this will output 10, then add 1 to x. So if I run this code to demonstrate, you can see 10 got output and then 11. However, if I do it the other way, so I'm going to copy these lines, and instead of having it after, I put it before, what happens is Java will add 1 to x and then output 11. So it adds it first and then does what the whole line is doing, which is outputting a value. So if I run this, so these are probably the most confusing ones out of all the math shortcuts. So here you can see 12 and 12 got output because it added 1 to 11, which became 12. So there could be times when we don't put this in a print line. So I may say something like double z is equal to plus plus y. And instead of, and I compare this to, let's say, double w is equal to y or y plus plus. So if we think, and a lot of times when you're programming, you should try to predict what the output will be. So if y is initially 3, if I add 1 to y first, then z will be 4. And if I output this, just to verify, that should output 4. And I look here, now y is also 4, so keep that in mind, because we added 1 to it. So here, what will w be? 4 or 5? Well, w is actually going to be 4, and then y will be 5. So it assigns the original value to y to w first, which is 4, and then adds 1 to y. So w will be 4 and y will be 5. And just to also demonstrate the value of y changing, and what I'll do as well on our classroom is I'll post some exercise for you to try as well. So then if I take these copy it here, change that to W, change that to W, and then I run this code. And understanding this is a great way that while you're typing it, you can predict it. And just as a side note, something like y++ is used way more often than ++y. So I'm going to run this. And you want to match the outputs with the predictions. So you've got the z and the y here are both 4. W was 4 and y was 5. So as predicted. Phew. Okay. So those, like I said, these are probably the most confusing shortcuts, but they're also the ones that are used the most. And then how do you think we're going to subtract 1 from x? And most of these are pretty logical then, once you know x minus minus. And then there's a minus minus x as well, but I didn't include it because I even rarely use it. So I'll just say we're not going to use it. And the x equals x plus y, an example of that might be something like x equals x plus 5, for example. How would we do that? Well, in Java, we would say x plus equals y. Or in this case over here, this is the same as x plus equals 5. And you don't need the space, or you can have the space. And then the rest are logically following from this example. So if I just use an example down here, and I say we know at this point that y is 5. So if I say y, plus equals 5, and then print it out, we would expect y at this point to be, that's right, we expect it to be 10. So if we run this, it adds 5 to y and stores it back into y. And then, not surprisingly, subtracting a number would be x minus equals y. And it would be a similar example as this here. And then we have x multiplied, Again, these are just shortcuts. And when you're writing a quiz or a test with me, I don't care which one you use, unless I'm asking you what's the shortcut, or write it with a shortcut. Otherwise, if you're more comfortable with the original, that's totally fine as well. And then this would be x divided by y. Yeah. So these are the math shortcuts. And tomorrow's video, you'll see a lot of reasons why we use these ones when we introduce for loops. So I will post this video, I'll post this links on our Brightspace page, and look for an assignment on GDB assignments. See you later.